Hi, everybody, and welcome to the astrology forecast for May 2026 with me, Sue, from Inspired Messages. I'm sure you're going to agree that April has been a packed month with world events, and there's a lot more to come with the full moon today in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is about secrets and the darker aspects of life, so we can expect more revelations, especially if we care to look. Uh, there are many people really who really don't want to look uh, under the bed, so to speak. But I think as time goes on, they, be forced to have a look. So May is a rare and powerful month. It's a blue moon month. We have two, one today on the first, and one at the end. And really, they demand deep emotional honesty and major structural shifts. So, the Scorpio full moon, I've already mentioned today, is probably going to be a month of illumination. What is hidden, falling in Scorpio, it's about death and rebirth, not literally, but the ending of habits, relationships, or mindsets that have reached their expiration date. It's a time for inner alchemy, turning old pain into power, into new power. And the sun and the moon are also square to Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, which brings more intensity into the arena. So if you are a Scorpio or one of the water signs, Cancer or Pisces, you're going to probably feel this more than the rest of us, as this is an intense and emotional energy. So you could find yourself caught up in emotional dramas, wondering how you will, get out of it, but don't want to be in it, but you feel like you're being drawn into it. So the answer it really is to, if you can, to back off and to direct your need for intensity into creative pursuits. We do have a bit of light relief as Jupiter in this chart is trining the moon, and Jupiter is optimistic, and this is a time to, uh, you know, uh, you'll find people who are generous and good natured, and you may make adventurous plans, which usually prove successful. You enjoy the company of other people, and they usually like to help you in your goals. You know, Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and if you've got any Sagittarius friends, they're very supportive, and is an optimistic uh, planet. So the moon is also trine the North Node, which is the direction our life should be taking. So if you follow your heart, then you're likely to be following your dreams and your destiny. So some have to go out and seek their own destiny, but you may find that, fate comes knocking on your door. But whatever, I think it's time to perform a full moon ritual so we can make the way, way for the new things we want to happen in our life. So if you don't know how to do a new moon ritual, it's really quite easy. You really just write a list of anything you want to change, anything you want to get rid of, okay? And then you can sit and meditate in the moonlight. You can set the scene, you can light a candle or light some incense, put some music on, and then, just think about what you want to get rid of that's not no longer really serving you. So, let's move to the 5th May. So Mercury in Taurus is going to square Pluto in Aquarius. So this is a square, so it might be a bit of a challenge, and it is Mercury. So it might seem like everyone is in a fighting mood, but that doesn't mean you have to give in to arguments. Try to keep an open mind and channel frustrations productively. And on the 9th, Pluto is actually going to go retrograde, and it will be retrograde for about 5 months. So, what's the meaning of that? So, well, on a collective level, we reassess our relationship with technology. community and social progress. On a personal level, you're being asked to look back at the power dynamic. So who's triggering you? Who's trying to control you? What's been going on since early 2026? Okay. So it's less about what is happening externally and more about what's happening on a deep psychological level. Pluto gets rid of the things in our life that are no longer working for us in any area of our life. Okay. So think about that for the 5 months. And on the 10th, the sun is going to sextile Jupiter. So this is if you want to do something that's kind of optimistic or book anything or do something that's connected to foreigners or foreign places, that would be quite good on the 10th. Open up your life and your mind, and this can bring more opportunities to you. So keep an optimistic attitude going on the 10th for definite. And on the 13th, Mercury is going to sextile Jupiter. So the 10th, the Sun is sextile Jupiter. Then on the 13th, Mercury is. So Mercury is always about ideas and communication. So big ideas can come to you easily and you can get excited about them. Opportunities again, because we've got Jupiter, can come quickly and you can see all of the little details as well as the big picture. So on the 14th, the Sun is going to conjunct Mercury in Taurus. So what did you begin about 6 to 8 weeks ago? Because that can come to fruition now. And you can see the results of your work and the choices that you made. So make the most of that on 14th. On the 16th, we've got the new moon in the sign of Taurus. Okay. So this is your annual reset button for stability. It's an earth sign. In Taurus, this new moon asks you to plant seeds related to your finances, your self-worth, your values, and your physical body. It's pragmatic, a slow burning energy that rewards patience over speed. And whatever you start now has long-term staying power. So, as I'm a Taurian myself, I can see that I'm already looking at my health, the food I eat, looking after the body. I'm looking at exercise, and I'm also trying to sort finances out. So it is already manifesting for me. So think about that. On the 19th, Mercury is going to sextile Neptune. So, this is about your imagination, and you could really make a vision map and you could maybe do some visualization about what you want your life to look like. Okay. So you could also enjoy focusing on creative projects and ideas. So let your mind, just wander and come up with brilliant, artistic ideas, okay, that you can put into practice. Also on that day, Venus is going to sextile Mars, and so passionate energy can be high, but it's controllable. And it's to do with love, Venus in Cancer, it's very much to do with love. And you can be more romantic, but outside of love, you can be more creative and inspired. Also, on that day, Mercury is going to trine Pluto. So, this is going to help you transform the situation. You can get to the heart of matters with your research, and you won't miss much. Nothing will, miss you at all. This is a great time to focus on the details or anything that requires any intensity. So on the 20th, the Sun leaves Taurus and it moves into Gemini. So with the Sun in Gemini, this kicks off the Gemini season. And over the next month, you can pick up a variety of projects and interests, have a more active mind and, be more engaged, and you can fill up your calendar. I think it would be really good. So, and also Venus is going to square Neptune on that day. So, boundaries might be a problem in your dealings with others, and it can be easy to be a doormat. So, watch that. Try to work on maintaining healthy boundaries to protect both yourself and those you care about. So, on the 22nd, the Sun is going to conjunct Uranus. So, independence can be high, and you can use that to be innovative, come up with inventive ideas, methods, and plans, and embrace healthy experiments. And Mercury also on that day will sextile Saturn. So mental discipline can be strong, and you can put that to good use by focusing on your goals and gather information so you can talk things over. Remember, this is Mercury and Saturn. So Saturn always wants to structure. So on the 26th, Mars is going to square Pluto. So this is actually maybe I would say the most difficult aspect of the month. So looking at it from a world perspective on a global scale, Mars is about action, war, squaring Pluto, which is power and transformation. So this could, it's a bit of like a volcano aspect, and it often manifests as intense power struggles, geopolitical tension, or it might mean that there'll be lots of things going on in the background. It definitely pushes underlying frustrations to the surface, often leading to necessary but disruptive collective changes. So, from a personal perspective, you might feel a surge of all or nothing energy. If you feel suppressed, this square can manifest as a sudden explosion of anger or a drive to control a situation. So often this aspect shows us where we are self-sabotaging. It's not just about fighting external enemies, it's about facing the shadow parts of ourselves, the fears we've buried so deeply that they've started to run the show from the basement, so to speak. The goal is really to channel this high octave energy into a project or personal goal that requires superhuman effort rather than letting it turn into a conflict with others. So, going to the full moon on the 31st at the end of the month in Sagittarius, this is another blue moon. The month closes with an expansive shift because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. And after the deep dive of the Scorpio and the grounding of Taurus with the new moon, this moon pulls your focus towards the big picture, travel, philosophy, and seeking a higher truth. It really is emphasizing expansive and truth seeking. While the Scorpio moon at the start of May leaves maybe, you know, feelings of internal pressure. This moon is more, it's loud and adventurous and is also connected to justice and the law. So, are we going to see arrests and court cases? Sagittarius rules international relations and law, and this full moon occurring right after the intense Mars-Pluto square could see world bodies like the UN or international courts attempting to step in or issue major rulings to de-escalate the friction created in the preceding days. So the conflicts in May are likely to be driven by resource, hunger, control over land, energy, or trade routes, and the Gemini influence. Mercury enters Gemini in its own sign on the 18th of May. The war of words and propaganda will likely intensify. So, just expect a massive surge in diplomatic chatter and potentially conflicting reports from various fronts. So, really, the strategy for May is, for what to do really. It's with Mars now in it's now in Aries. You have the fuel to move mountains, but the square to Pluto on the 26th suggests you should choose your battles very carefully, focus on empowered action rather than forced control. And because Mars is already established in Aries, the journey through May becomes much more about the momentum it builds towards, the later month aspects. The Mars-Pluto pressure cooker, since Mars is already in its home sign, it is operating at full strength from May the 1st. And by the time it reaches the square to Pluto on May the 26th, it will actually have moved into Taurus. So it will have gained significant speed. The build up throughout the first 3 weeks of May, you may feel an increasing urge to push for independence or break through a barrier. The square is a collision between personal willpower, Mars, and collective or systemic transformation, Pluto, that finally hits boiling point on the 26th. So I don't know whether you've heard about mundane astrology, but it's every country has its own chart. And so it's called mundane astrology, the study of world events. And it suggests that May 26th is a pressure cooker month. When we look at the current global landscape of conflict, the astrological configurations for May point towards a period of high stakes and potential escalation, followed by a pivot towards internal restructuring. So the Mars square Pluto, that's about the combustion aspect, really. So this square between Mars now in Taurus and Pluto in Aquarius is the most significant indicator for war and conflict this month. The nature of the transit in mundane astrology, Mars-Pluto aspects, represent might makes right. It is an explosive energy that often coincides with sudden military offensives, power struggles between world leaders, or a forced attempt to change the status quo. So we may see a clash between traditional warfare and new domains, the cyber attacks or high-tech weaponry. There is a risk of a line in the sand being crossed during the last week of May. And the Pluto retrograde on the 9th of May. So as Pluto stations retrograde in Aquarius on the 9th, the momentum of external conquest often shifts towards internal stabilization, logistics and supply. So on the world stage, this can signal a period where nations have to stop and reassess their resources, military spending, or internal political stability. There could be social unrest, since Aquarius rules the people and revolution. This retrograde period often brings a focus back to domestic issues. Governments may face increased pressure from their own citizens regarding the cost of ethics or of ongoing conflicts. So the double full moon influence, having two full moons in 1 month, one on the 1st and one on the 31st, bookends the month with high emotional and political volatility. And the Scorpio full moon, this often brings underground information to light. We might see intelligence leaks or the exposure of secret alliances early in the month. Uranus is back in Gemini to stay until 2033. The worldview is this can trigger a revolution in how we communicate, learn, and use technology. So we could expect sudden breakthroughs in AI, transport, and local journalism. The personal view, on a personal level, your mind may feel rewired. This is Uranus we're talking about, and you'll likely feel a sudden urge to learn something entirely new or change how you express yourself or how you look. Saturn has already moved into Aries. This is a call to arms for personal responsibility and leadership. and governments and institutions may face pressure to take decisive solar action. On a personal level, the wait and see period is over. You are being asked to build something new from the ground up, requiring grit and self-discipline. So clearly the world, and therefore us, are moving through some kind of massive change. I've been talking about it for a long time, as are many other people. And I feel, as if we are moving into the age of Aquarius, and the world has to change. Always at a time of change, there is chaos. Everything we have relied on will change and die, and so the old guard will disappear. They're clearly trying to hang on, clutching at straws, and there are many bad, greedy people in the world. But by the law of averages, there has to be the opposite of people who want a better, safer, healthier world and are out there in the world fighting for change and a fairer society for all of us. I do know of many groups who are trying to create a better way to live. We have to be positive, and do your bit if you can by being positive to the people around you. The affirmation really, reflects all of this. So, hand on your heart every morning. The new world is full of good people who bring love, joy, peace, and happiness. We live in harmony with nature, and all citizens are well and live positive, rewarding lives. The new world is full of good people who bring joy, love, and peace and happiness. We live in harmony with nature, and all citizens are well and live positive, rewarding lives. So, if we all said that, if the whole world said that, then it would actually happen. But anyway, please like and share the video, as it will be shared to more people. I am on Facebook as Astrologer Sue Fletcher. Have a great May, and please look and share the video links to those who may want to watch them. There are two very different interviews with Sacha Stone, where he was interviewed, and both I thought were really interesting, and they held my attention right to the end. And then I've got some on exercise, and it's basically a Japanese exercise, which the Japanese do every morning outside. It's 3 minutes and it's really good for the whole body. So I put a video about it, and I put a video on how to do it so that you've got somebody to follow. I think it's important that we all try to eat the right foods, do the right things, and do exercise, so that we can be fit and mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I think the full moon today is really going to tax us on that. So I think if we can do anything to help, it will be really worthwhile. And you could also do some meditation as well, if you feel anxiety. Anyway, have a great May, and I will see you in June. I can't believe I'm saying that. And I'm going to say, bye bye, and see you in June. Bye for now. Bye bye.